Hello, welcome to Sideways. This morning it's warm and sunny and the birds are singing and the sky's blue. Last night it was raining so hard I could scarcely hear the television above the rain smashing into the windows. I suppose what we're looking for is always something in between those two, and that's what we're talking about this week. How we find emotional balance, what it is, and once we have found it, how we keep it there. We also talk about the after effects of the COVID vaccine, mental health awareness, and Martin and I start to debate the creation of a Venn diagram of our own musical tastes. The joy of balance.
All right.
Yeah, I've got some new stuff coming up about recording in progress and all that. It started to freak me out.
Yeah, I had that. I had this strange ethereal voice that said, "This meeting is being recorded."
Yeah, I got that, which has never happened before.
I suppose, do you think that people are recording meetings covertly and then using them as, for nefarious doings against others?
I think you're right. I expect it to be cropping up all over the internet. It'd be going viral before we know what's going on. Outside of our control.
You're looking quite tanned this morning. Have you been on a sunbed?
No, I haven't. No, it's just been working outside for the last couple of weeks, and
It's been raining all the time, though.
Well, no, there's been brief periods when it's been very sunny and quite warm. But everyone's been saying the same, that I've sort of caught myself a bit of a tan, which is a bit weird. But I do go brown very quickly, so it's one of those things.
It's fake tan, isn't it? You're fake tanning.
Do you know, I've never been in one of those. I don't want to end up like Donald Trump with the white bits around the eyes when we put the glasses on.
He's cleverer than you.
Do you think so? Yeah. Well, so I was just trying to get on via my computer. Actually, I've got. Well, that's not.
Don't take too long because I've had my second COVID jab and I'm waiting for the after effects to kick in.
That'd be about 24 hours' time before it kicks in, mate. Don't you? You've got a long time to wait yet before you start to feel horribly ill and have to take to your bed for a good few hours.
You don't know.
Well, I've had my first one, and they said the second one's much nicer. Are you on AstraZeneca?
No.
Oh yeah, if you're on the Pfizer one, then you're definitely get a horrible packet this time tomorrow.
Yeah, they've saved the Pfizer ones for people who are slightly more intelligent.
How did you sneak through then?
Oh dear. Anyway, what are we talking about? Because, as you know, I haven't got long, probably.
No, quite well, not long on this earth.
Well, let's hope it's not quite that bad. I mean, I don't mind a few side effects, but if it kills me, it'll be somewhat counterproductive.
Yeah. Okay, we'll start this again. Welcome to our last ever Sideways podcast with Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. It might just be me next week, or I might not bother. We'll see how it goes.
Would you carry on if I died?
Yeah, probably. I think,
Or just have a conversation with you, it would just be a monologue.
It would, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would be a bit boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Mind you, I suppose one episode would probably be right because you could go on about what a great bloke I was.
Well, I could do like a eulogy that I'll do at your funeral.
Yeah, do it first on the podcast before you've done it at my funeral.
I've already got it written, mate, because I think your time's numbered. So
I think we've talked about that before.
We have.
Anyway, so what are we talking about?
This week I wanted to talk about, the inspiration came from a conversation we're having in one of our normal Aspire to Be Zoom meetings that we have every evening at the moment. And one of the girls that came on, she's doing really well. She's a few months into recovery, and she said that she felt really happy because she was right in the middle of the sort of emotional spectrum. She used the word contented. And I was facilitating the meeting, and I told her how happy I was to hear that, as she was fairly early on on a recovery road, and it's a really positive sign. So I really wanted to talk today about balance, getting to that middle ground and the joy of balance. It's the heading of my notes. I mean, we know as addicts, we very much use on emotions all the time. We feel that when we feel depressed, we're we throw ourselves into our drug of choice to sort of avoid how we're feeling, and then we're feeling really happy. We want to try and keep that feeling going. So being right in the middle is the safest place to be. So when people come onto the meetings and say that's how they feel, I think it's a really great sign, and it's the safest place for us all. Not just in addiction, but I think generally, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I suppose the difference is when you have someone in recovery who comes into a meeting and says that they feel like they're right in the middle of that spectrum, the greatest victory there is that they've done it themselves rather than chemically.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, nature has taken its course. You put everything in place, and suddenly you're in a place where you're all right. Which is I've got to say, I remember getting to that point, and it was a weird feeling. I kept looking around and feeling something's going to happen in a moment. I'm not used to this.
The thing that people find difficult, all of us, I'm not just saying, I'm not just suggesting this is just people who are struggling with their mental health. We all find this difficult. But the thing that we find difficult is separating the experiences that we have in our lives from being directly influencing where we sit on that spectrum. So, for example, I think we all believe that if something bad happens to us, we will necessarily struggle on that emotional spectrum and we won't be able to get ourselves out of the fog. But of course, our emotions aren't really controlled by anything other than us. It's not a specific stimulus that creates an emotion in us. It's our response to it. And I think, part of what you're learning in recovery is recognizing your ability to self-regulate in that way.
It is. When I was writing these notes about, as I headed up as the joy of balance, it sort of reminded me of a book that my brother was reading back in the sort of late 90s. It was called The Joy of Pi, right?
As in shepherd's pie?
Not as in shepherd's pie, no, but in the mathematical constant. And he had a whole book on it, right? I mean, it was bizarre, but it took him to quite a happy place. But I don't know if you've ever looked at it or even thought about reading The Joy of Pi. I mean, I can't think of anything worse, can you? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, pi was one of those. It's a mathematical construct you use at school, and basically, it's how many times the diameter or the circumference is fitted into. No, I'm getting that wrong way around now. I'll come back to that in a minute.
You want to get yourself a copy of The Joy of Pi and look it up?
No, I do.
Do you want to have another go?
Not really. Well, as far as I was concerned, it's how many times the diameter fits into the circumference of a circle. And it's an infinite number, because I always used to wind Russ up. Well, it's roughly 3. That's all you need to know. And because it goes on to a sort of an infinite number of decimal places, he was outraged by it. But how much can you get out of a book about that? And it still puzzles me to this day.
Well, but aren't you you're hitting us upon something that's quite important in terms of recognizing the way that we reach a point of balance for ourselves, which is that it's different for all of us, isn't it? That it's not as if there's one kind of set of scales and we all have to do exactly the same things to create balance. The way that we create balance in our lives is kind of completely dependent on the way that we view the world and we view ourselves. The only thing that is constant is our need to achieve it.
Yeah, I mean, if you try and define balance, which I like to try and put in a definition at this point. Again, it's quite tricky.
I'll have a go.
Okay, well, you have a go first, and I'll see if my notes that I've my research notes tie up in any way with what you're going to say.
Well, I don't suppose they will, but I've got this matrix that I learned when I was doing couples therapy training. And I always think it's a really lovely way of thinking about. It's actually designed for understanding where the problems are in relationships, but I think it's also quite a good way of thinking about ourselves and how we achieve balance. And if you think about two axes, a Y and an X axis, and you think that one of them, let's say the vertical one, is about self-esteem, and at the one end you've got shame, and at the other end you've got narcissism and grandiosity. Okay. Where you're trying to sit is in the middle of that, right? You don't want to be shameful, and you don't want to be narcissistic. You want to be sitting somewhere in the middle. And then if you think about the horizontal axis as being one of your kind of need for the love and appreciation and affirmation of others, at one end you have someone who is love dependent. They kind of can't function without everybody else or other people telling them they're okay. And at the other end, you've got someone who is love avoidant, and they push everything away and they can't connect. And again, you want to be in the center of that. So if you think about that as a kind of 2x2 matrix, if you can all the time you can find yourself in the center of that somewhere, then you're going to be in a pretty healthy, robust place. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's you've done it quite. I've been visualising that as we're going on. It's almost like you could put two lines on that graph, and where they intersect is an ideal place to be.
Exactly that.
And and I think it's right. I mean, it's when you're trying to work out balance. Now, what are you trying to balance? When you research it, everything tends to lead towards the work-life balance. But there's so much more than that, isn't there? Within that balance, you've got to have things like your relationships and your fitness and your health and emotional well-being, and making time for yourself and that sort of thing to try and get this balance. There's a lot of aspects to it. It's not just work life, is it? There's a lot of other things that are going to come into that. So it's quite difficult to construct everything in your life to get it all perfectly balanced. And I'm sure we never, will constantly be shifting around. And, when you do briefly reach that middle point, I think it's quite a nice place to be. But I think we're there for very long, are we?
No, that's right. You certainly can't boil it down to something like work-life balance, because it goes back to what we were talking about before. It depends on the individual. For some people, depending on the other circumstances in their lives, they might get a lot of joy from spending a lot of time working. And someone might look at the way they live their lives and they might say, crikey, you spend a lot of time working. What about the other stuff in their lives? But they might be happy doing that. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's important for us not to, none of us are in a position to judge the way that someone else lives their lives. But as an individual, if your life is out of kilter, because you feel it. And so I think it's much, much more important than someone else telling us that something is wrong, is us recognizing that something is uncomfortable and that there is a need for us to do something about it.
That sounds fair. I mean, when you're in the throes of addiction, there's no balance at all.
No,
it's all skewed towards, to making sure you have the drug of choice to hand. Everything else doesn't matter. Everything else goes out the window. Looking after yourself, your sleep pattern, your temper, everything is totally skewed. And so it's a nice feeling when you start to move back to that graph, that intersection we're talking about. Even when you're approaching that, you start to feel better. I see it when you do get to that point is when you feel your recovery is really then underway. You're probably getting a hold on it, because you start to get to that point in your life where you don't resent not being able to have a drink, but rather you embrace it and enjoy it, and it all leads into that balance in normal life.
Yeah, you're right. If you think about that matrix, when you're in active addiction, you're right down the shame end of the self-esteem axis, and you're certainly you're probably a combination. So sometimes you'd be love dependent. You need other people to kind of fully accept you, even though you can't accept yourself. But more often than not, you're pushing people away, aren't you?
Yeah.
Than not, you are cutting yourself off, and you're completely avoidant from connection, which is the antithesis of the very thing that you need to help you out. When you think about the benefit of peer support for people in recovery, it is fundamentally in the connection. And when you're in active addiction, you're completely disconnected from yourself and from the world. Yeah,
you are. I mean, I was starting to look at getting some notes together exactly on that point, on connection. But then I realised we'd done one on belonging and what is necessary to belong. So I think we'd be going over some old ground. But
what episode was it?
I haven't looked it up, mate. And I'm not having you slagging me off on the air because of the way that I organise myself in that area. I'm taking a blasé attitude towards it now.
That's good. That's growth, isn't it?
It is growth of sorts, yeah. But what I'm going to do right at this point is to throw in a quote, because I know you like those at certain times. You always moan, right? You always moan. But I think this one, I'm going to throw this in just because it's from one of my favourite ancient Greek philosophers.
Is it Socrates?
No, it's not. No, he's actually post-Socratic, this fellow. I quite like the pre-Socratic, but he's which is Epicurus.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay, and I think just throwing in a quote from a Greek philosopher gives this whole podcast a little bit of gravitas, doesn't it? It shows we're not just a couple of shuffling idiots kicking the can up the road. Do you know what I mean? Even though we probably are.
If you carry on like this, you'll be eligible for the Pfizer vaccine.
I've got to go a long way up the scale to get there. But so anyway, the quote is a very short quote, but I quite liked it. And it is, moderate in order to taste the joys of life in abundance. Now, in addiction, I mean, moderation, there is no such thing.
Yeah.
We can't do that, but it is. But I think it's quite nice that the fact you can have an abundance in your life, but through moderation. And if Epicurus is saying it, and he was around sort of way before well, he was BC, he was about 340 BC, so he was quite wise for his days.
Yes, I like that one. It reminds me of something my dad used to say. My dad used to say everything in moderation. He was. Yeah. I don't think he was a Greek philosopher. He wasn't one of the he wasn't one of the Stoics. Although he was quite stoical, in fairness, my dad.
Having said that, he had an Einstein look about him, I've got to say.
Well, that was just his, slightly wayward hair.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's all he needed. But I was going to ask you, I'd imagine you get a lot of people come in to see you where their lives are unbalanced. But I think you've probably already proved that is the case anyway, because you've got a matrix and everything which you use for exactly that purpose. And you wouldn't have one of those if it's a one-off scenario.
I think if you think about it broadly, by definition, pretty much everyone who comes to see me is out of balance.
Yeah. I know. When I was writing it down, I thought this is answering itself.
Yeah. But I think it's quite it's an interesting question, because thinking about it in that way is quite informative. That's really what it is. We get sometimes people feel stigmatized by any sort of mental health difficulty. But that's really what it is most of the time. It is a lack of balance. Something's out of kilter. Something's not quite working right. It doesn't mean something's broken or there's something wrong with you. It's just that, things are out of balance.
Especially, we're in Mental Health Awareness Week at the moment, aren't we? And I think people are taking a bit of a look at themselves sometimes. And would you say there's any sort of warning signs or early warning signs that your life is becoming unbalanced? Is there something you can pinpoint, or various things you could pinpoint where you say, to have a word with myself because something's not quite right here?
Yeah, I think there are. I mean, I think it depends. Well, I think broadly, that something's getting out of balance. Going back to what I said earlier on, when you start to feel uncomfortable, when something's feeling uncomfortable, when something feels wrong, either in your life as an individual or in your relationship or something, I think part of the problem is our willingness to take action, which is actually one of the issues I have with the whole Mental Health Awareness Week thing. We're already aware of mental health difficulty. We should just be doing something about it. We should have a mental health do something about it week instead, like Bob a Job Week, only for mental health.
Well, I know what you're saying, but I think the awareness really should be from those people that don't have the illnesses. I think that's really what it's about, isn't it? So people that aren't suffering from it can have some sort of empathy with people that do. It
is, but my point is, we all know that there are problems with mental health. We shouldn't be still be in a position where we're needing to be reminded that mental health issues exist. We should have moved past that to a point where we're saying, right, we know that, sometimes people have difficulties with mental health. We get that. We understand that people get stressed or anxious or, all sorts of other things. Let's accept that we know that it exists. Let's now decide what the hell we're going to do about it. There's a lot of, to me, there's a lot of kind of posturing about, we've got to make sure that we're aware of the difficulties people have. I mean, how much more awareness do we need? We just need to get on and take some action, don't we?
We do, but
making me angry.
Well, no, I think you're going way off beam, to be honest, and your anger's taking you into areas where I'm not agreeing with. I think the awareness is okay with people like you and I. We are aware of it because we've had issues with it, but there's still a lot of people out there that see it as a bit of almost like a made-up thing, just have a stiff upper lip, carry on, crack on. And there's still a lot of that going on, which is why we need that awareness.
When people are kind of in denial about mental health awareness issues, is that really a problem of awareness, or is that just people being pricks?
I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, but I think there's probably a combination of the two. There's probably some people that are never going to be aware of it or take it into consideration.
I think my point is that there'll always be some people that whatever you say, however much evidence you give them, however much you talk about it, they either won't want to look at it or they'll refuse to look at it. And so at some point you have to say, okay, well, we're going to move forward without those people. You can't convince everyone of the relevance and the importance and the significance of something. If people don't want to listen to it, if people don't really think that mental health issues are real, then fine, they can, carry on. But we can't kind of sit around forever trying to make sure that everybody is aware of it when really should have got to the point where people are.
I agree on that point. Anyway, when I was looking up the warning signs or the ideas before we went off into that little realm of, it wasn't even an argument, really, was it? We should have
it was a heated debate, wasn't it?
It didn't really get heated, but we should have a proper ding dong. We'll have to find something we really don't agree about and have a proper discussion.
How about American rock?
We could video it live, big book gloves on and everything. Have a proper punch up about it. Anyway, warning signs. I was looking at these again, researching it. And they're a bit weird, some of them, but warning signs could be, you stop taking care of your body, which we've already discussed. Or your mental health is going downhill, which we've already sort of discussed. Unable to sleep properly, which we've already talked about already. But there's one there which made me laugh, was being forgetful, which I thought, that's obviously you couldn't take that on its own, just being forgetful. It doesn't mean your life is out of balance just because you forgot a few things. But what it did remind me of a little story that one of my old schoolmates who listens to this podcast regularly, so I will name him, and because he did give me permission to use the story. It's just, and you know him as well, Jez Thistlethwaite. Obviously, I've known him since I was a kiddie at school, but he's only recently told me this story about forgetfulness, where he was invited to a party, and it was the 25th wedding anniversary party of one of his mates who had got married. Obviously, it was around, I think it was 25 years, something like that. And so it was a big gathering. They had a look at the video of the original wedding and all that sort of thing. And he got there, and there's a lot of people he didn't know. So he went around, introduced himself, and said, I'm Jez. I was the best man at the wedding, and all that. And they got round and they had, a few little nibbles, settled down with their drinks, settled down to watch the video. And as the video come on, he suddenly realised that he wasn't the best man after all. I don't know why he's got his wires completely crossed, but
oh dear, that's embarrassing enough. But having told everyone, and then everyone's watching the video and thinking, that best man's changed, isn't he?
Full recognition, yeah. He's lost height. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite bad. So he realised his life was out of balance at that point.
Completely. I think it felt out of balance at that point, don't you? He'd gone right down to the shame end of the scale, that's for sure.
I bet that did affect his sleep that night.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if you just on that subject of signs of too much stress, too much anxiety or whatever. If you Google something like that, you'll find countless lists of stuff. So it's not difficult to find them. But one of the problems is that when we see the signs, so for instance, the signs of being too stressed, we tend to ignore them because we got too much on and we can't, focus on it. It's like we're too stressed to deal with our excess of stress. So again, it isn't so much. I don't want to take us back to our heated debate, but even in that sense, it's not so much that we don't know. It's more that we can't convince ourselves to take action about what we're seeing.
Yeah, and certainly as an addict, I know what that feels like when you're in the throes of addiction and things are crumbling around you. You know you've got to do something, and you just don't. You leave it to the last minute. You just have another drink to forget about that fleeting moment where you thought, I must do something about this. Another drink or some drugs or whatever, take that thought away.
Is that because it just feels like it's impossible, or it feels like it's too big a challenge? What is it?
Both of those, really. I think that the challenge ahead, you can't envisage your life without drinking drugs to begin with. And then the thought of trying to give it up, if you tried even to go for a few hours, how agonising it can be. how painful it is, both emotionally and physical. And it's much easier just to have another drink and forget about it.
Yeah, let's have a cup of tea. Have a cup of tea. Have a cup of tea and a biscuit.
Exactly, a nice little shortbread, sort yourself out. But anyway, I was going to go to the farmers market this morning, and it was raining so heavily I didn't fancy it. Do you think that's a poor show?
I'd say that's a sure sign your life's out of balance.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's okay. The problem there is you've gone for immediate gratification rather than the long-term benefit, because now you're going to have to live for the next few weeks without any apples and pears. And that's not Cockney rhyming slang, by the way.
Those stairs, yeah. But I
take the lift.
Yeah. Well, I did actually look at. I did Google where the farmers' shops were, so I can go and get some. But I know it's because the farmers' market's held in a muddy field, and it'd be horrible over there. And especially if you're having to queue up to get in at the moment with the COVID restrictions still in place, it would have been quite a miserable experience rather than a joy. So I didn't fancy it.
I mean, you could have gone in, knee deep in mud. You could have been kind of empathic with the farmers who are having to create all their produce, couldn't you?
I could have done that, but I found I've got enough of what I need at the moment anyway. So it would have I would have probably just bought it and it ended up rotting on the shelves.
The Columbia coffee woman, she'll probably go out of business because you're not.
Quite. No, I've looked her up online, so I can buy it online. So she's going to be all right. So I've covered all my bases.
She'll be all tearful this morning.
Yeah, I won't be on her gratitude list, will I?
Oh, that's that segue.
Hey.
Yeah, that's quite good. I almost didn't notice that one.
No, you did not. They slid it by you. Yeah,
okay.
I've got one on my list. I'm going to come to you first, but I've got one on my list. I think you might have had it in the past. I can't remember, but you'll tell me in a minute.
No, let's. I always go first. You go first this week.
All right. Poetry.
Nice.
Have you used that?
I don't think I have used poetry. I've had books. But I don't think I've had poetry. Yeah, that's okay. Poetry. All right.
Yeah. It came to mind really. Because I mean, I don't know about you. I remember poetry at school when I was doing my A-level in English, and the literature we was having to study was, some of the stuff we was having to read, like Chaucer, for example, and Gerard Manley Hopkins, and some of the, and I really didn't like the poetry there. I thought it was very, very drab. It was almost like poetry for poetry's sake. But then John Cooper Clarke came into my life, and all of a sudden poetry was brilliant. And when we went to see him.
Yeah.
And you remember one of the girls that was also on stage with him was Toria Garbutt.
Yeah.
Which now I follow her on Instagram, and she was on an Instagram show the other night with this other poet, Luke Wright, and they call it ping pong poetry. So one of them will say a poem which sparks off an idea, and they'll look up some poems or will use some of their own poetry. It was an hour show, and it was absolutely fabulous. It was brilliant, and I've got a soft spot for Toria anyway. I thought she was great live, and to hear some of her newer poems and stuff that she was looking at was absolutely brilliant. I thought, what, this is a joy. I'm really grateful that I follow her on Instagram, and that I was it pinged up, and I was able to go straight into it and watch the show. It was an hour, and it was absolutely fabulous.
That's very good. Well, thanks for letting me know about that. Anyway,
well, you follow her yourself.
I do follow her.
All right, okay.
I was probably doing something else at the time, and I would have probably been grateful to have been tipped the wink on that.
Well, it's still available, because even though I watched it live, it is now available on her page. So you can have a look at it. Then.
I might watch that. Okay, that's very good. Very good. Actually, that's interesting, because that means our both the things on our gratitude lists this week are kind of loosely related.
Okay.
Because this week I am grateful for my dad.
Okay.
But more specifically, I'm grateful that my dad, who was a particular lover of words, there's the connection.
Okay.
Was always very keen to kind of extend my vocabulary. Used a lot of words that I couldn't understand. And so, encouraged me to ask him so that he could explain to me what it meant. Was a great crossword lover. And I kind of realised in years gone by that actually my, whatever ability I have to express myself, I probably owe largely to my father, because obviously without words, it's very difficult to express yourself.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm grateful for this week. There we are. And of course, the fact that he used to give us lifts to the Hammersmith Odeon to see Whitesnake and the Tigers of Pantang.
I don't remember him ever giving me a lift. But
I don't suppose we went to many gigs together, did we? Because actually, that's one area that, funnily enough, considering we were in a band together for years, our musical tastes don't really overlap that much, do they?
They don't, no.
I mean, you don't like good music, and I do.
I mean, again, we can put that on a matrix somewhere, I'm sure, and come up and get some graphs to see where about both of us sit. But
we'd need a Venn diagram, wouldn't we?
We probably, if you have a Venn diagram, then the overlapping bits, I think there'd probably be one or two songs that overlap out of that whole of musical history.
I think there might be genres. I think there might be some genres that overlapped a little bit. I mean,
probably.
There'd be some rock bands that would be in the overlap, wouldn't there?
Absolutely, yeah, there would. Definitely.
The Pogues would be in the overlap.
The Pogues would be there, certainly. Well, Black Sabbath, probably.
Yeah, the Men They Couldn't Hang, they'd be in there.
Men They Couldn't Hang. But yes, talking about music then.
Yeah.
On the on my Spotify search this week, when I was looking at Balance, again, there wasn't much going on that I could really report back on. I searched for quite a long time, but there was a little musical piece called Balance, which was basically all it was someone gently striking relaxing Tibetan singing bowls. And I thought, I can't put that on the list. I can't put it on there. I suppose it'd be all right for meditation, but it was just noise. But I enjoyed it. I listened it through. It's only a short extract, luckily. So I'm not. But there's a good track called "Balance Not Symmetry" by Biffy Clyro. Yeah, there was one. Go on. Do you want to say something about Biffy Clyro?
No, I wasn't going to say anything about Biffy Clyro. I was going to alert you to a track called Balance that you should listen to, which might conceivably be in the overlap of our musical Venn diagram.
Okay.
It'll be by a band you won't have heard of, but I suspect you might quite like them. There's a song called Balance by a band called Future Islands.
Oh, do you know, that came up on the list.
Oh.
I saw that on there, and I did listen to it, and it starts off, it sounds almost like a Bontempi organ or something being played, and I thought, I don't, this is, and it went on too long before the.
Oh, you need to go back and listen to it, because I suspect you might quite like it. It's kind of almost, it's got a kind of Depeche Mode-y type of rocky crossover thing going on. I think you might quite like it.
All right. Well, that was the next one I saw was a Depeche Mode song, which was called "Get the Balance Right," which I remember. It was one of my brother Paul's favourite tracks at the time.
He was a massive Depeche Mode fan, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yes. We went to see them together.
Yeah.
So that was nice to have that track. But the one I'm going to put on is by a Nigerian singer-songwriter, and he's called Singer, but it's Singah. And it's called Balance It, and it's apparently he's becoming very big in the Nigerian music scene, and it's lovely. It's just a lovely African feel to it, and I hadn't heard it before, and I thought that's the sort of track I would play more than once. I'd listen to it several times, so I'm going to put that on there because it's a new one on me, and it's lovely.
All right, so you're not putting the Tibetan singing bowls on then?
I might put them on as well. It could be one of those rare occasions.
I think you should. Because for no other reason than actually what you're creating inadvertently is balance, isn't it?
What a good idea. So for the sake of balance, I'm going to put 2 on this week.
Correct.
Good work.
And I'm imagining we're drawing to a close now. So I thought when you said you wanted to talk about balance, I thought you'd found a way of shoehorning in all the videos of people falling over we've been looking at recently.
Well, no, I think you did say about perhaps we should do one on falling over, but I don't think we could create a whole episode, certainly non-visually, that's going to be at least a bit listenable.
No, you're probably right. Yeah, but it is funny, isn't it? People falling over.
It never fails to amuse me. I mean, you've been framed as lived on that for many, many years, isn't it?
Something about people falling over with food as well, which is particularly amusing.
Well, it is. I mean, that one you sent me of that lady falling over the tray of food was so reminiscent of the lady we saw fall over in McDonald's in London, wasn't it?
Yeah,
with the whole tray of food. And although it's a little bit shocking and you want to go and help, but it's incredibly funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it reminds me of the time I fell over at work with a full tray of breakfast. I don't want to think about it anymore though, because I get slight sort of flashbacks that are, upsetting.
Well, I'll let you go back and settle yourself down again. Now that's come back into your mind. You need to sit down with a nice cup of tea.
Yeah, I'm going to go and wait for the side effects to come on.
Don't wait, mate. They won't be. You'll be all right. You'll be fine.
I'm just going to sit in a chair quietly, waiting for them. I might live stream it.
Okay, well, I'm going to live stream. We are gathered here today to remember the life.
I don't want to hear. I don't think I want to hear my eulogy.
No, you won't. You won't want to hear the one I've got sorted out for you. Definitely.
All right.
Good.
Okay. So have a good day.
And you, mate. There's a lot of rambling there. I'm sure you do your best to edit that down to something vaguely listenable.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when I feel better.
When you feel better, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it'll be on by next Thursday then, because someone was telling me yesterday that they look at their clock and they wait for the 3 o'clock mark to come up, and then they go onto Buzzsprout and listen to our episode.
Well, whoever that is that's telling you that is, I think, needs to get some balance in their lives.
He's our biggest fan, and that's all I'm saying.
That's very humbling, and
it is.
I might put it on my gratitude list next week.
Excellent, yeah. Okay, well, we'll mention his name next week. Then we'll bring him in on that one.
All right then. Okay,
mate. All right, later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.